Now back to more Sports Wrap. Presented by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sports app today. FanDuel, more ways to win. Here's Chris Renwick.
All right, welcome back. Joined by my guy Solomon Wilcots, former CBS, former NFL Network analyst, of course, longtime NFL player, and now currently with SiriusXM NFL Radio, and of course, Pro Football Focus. Solomon, one of the I think biggest storylines coming out of the draft this year was the number of high quality rookie quarterbacks that are going to be in this league this year. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence going number one, but guys like Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, all in the mix that are kind of expected to be really solid players in year one. I'm curious to know what you think of maybe who you think could be kind of the best of the bunch this year one. Who's kind of your diamond in the rough here?
Mac Jones has looked phenomenal, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen him work in the joint practice sessions that they've had with the Giants this week. He was phenomenal. And just the other day, he completed 21 of 23 passes, had a streak of 18 straight passes that he completed, and even got a high five from Bill Belichick, something you don't always get. Belichick doesn't throw bouquets around, but I think Mac Jones is going to be incredible. I think Justin Fields has an opportunity to be not good but great. And I think Trey Lance, it may take him a little bit longer within that offense. I don't expect him to start or beat out Jimmy Garoppolo. Trevor Lawrence, I think he's in a tough situation because I don't think the team's going to win a lot of games, but I think he is supremely talented. I think he's the most talented of the group. He just landed in a situation that maybe not as favorable for early success, much like when Baker Mayfield first landed in Cleveland. That may take some time. And it's tough for quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, to weather the storm of going to a team when you're the first overall pick. Now you don't necessarily go to the best team.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And then also with first year NFL head coach Urban Meyer, obviously an incredible pedigree in the NFL in college football. We've seen that doesn't always translate, but there have certainly been coaches that have made that jump that have been successful. How do you expect Urban Meyer to handle that, and you expect him to find some success in Jacksonville?
Yeah, Urban Meyer, there's some growing pains right now, but he's done some wonderful things. I think anytime you go from college to the pro game, there's some things you're going to have to learn. You're coaching grown men. These aren't recruits where you once sat into their living rooms and talked to their parents to convince them, let me go in and take your kid and bring them to college, where you have to really nurture them in a different way. These are grown men that you've got to respect is reciprocal. You have to give them respect if you expect to get it. I think he understands that. He's a tremendous leader, and I think he's well organized, great administrator. He's already come in and changed the sports complex there. And I think he's doing a lot to show the players that he cares, that he understands them. And now it's just going to take some time to turn around a culture for a team that won only one game 1 year ago. So those things don't turn on a dime. It takes a little bit of time to get them going in the right direction.
Yeah, and speaking of the college game, there were a number of high-level players that were picked, in the top 10, certainly in the first round in this draft that decided to opt out last year. And there were a lot of questions whether or not that there would be, some growing pains, some bumpy roads for them as they got into the NFL after sitting out a season at their respective colleges. One of the guys that has been made headlines for all the wrong reasons out in Cincinnati has been Jamar Chase. He just hasn't looked sharp, hasn't looked like the receiver that he was 2 years ago at LSU with Burrows. But I anticipate he will find his footing at some point. Plus, it's hard for receivers to break into the NFL and be, impact players from day one. But I'm curious to know what you think about not only Jamar Chase and some of the reports that we're seeing from him out of camp, but also for a lot of these players that have decided to opt out last year and now making the jump to the NFL this year.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine what it would have been like at 20, 21 years old coming out of college into the NFL. And I didn't even play my final year in college. I couldn't imagine, trying to do that. It would have to be very difficult because your timing, your sense of place and your sense of confidence, I think it would be challenging.
Speed, too.
And certainly, I'm sorry?
And the speed of the game too. When I mean, going from, normally your last college season to the NFL is the speed is so different. But when you sit out a whole year, the speed must be incredible.
All of those things. It would be challenging enough, right? If you did play, but if you didn't, I think it would be doubly challenging for someone like Penei Sewell, the Detroit Lions first round pick, who sat out all of last year. And obviously you mentioned it, Cincinnati Bengals first round pick this year, Jamar Chase, who played with Joe Burrow at LSU. He comes out of a system that was a pro-style system at LSU. To give you an idea of how ready-made the receivers are that come out of that system, Odell Beckham Jr. had played at LSU, hit the ground running with the Giants as a first round pick. Jarvis Landry came out of that system when he was a pick with the Miami Dolphins and hit the ground running and had a very successful streak in his early years in the NFL. Last year, Justin Jefferson, the first round pick for the Minnesota Vikings, came out of that same program with Jamar Chase, right?
Yeah.
So I can tell you right now, it would be shocking for the Bengals if Jamar Chase was to have a disappointing rookie campaign, given the program that he played in collegiately, given the fact that the last guy that threw him a touchdown pass in a college game is the same guy that he's playing with now in the NFL, Joe Burrow. He had 20 receptions for touchdowns in 2019, but he sat out all of the 2020 season. And so while it may take a little time to adjust to those things you and I just talked about, there's no way I don't think I would even sit here now knowing that he's had multiple drops in preseason games and in practice. I expect those things to rectify themselves with the amount of reps he's going to get every day in practice.
We've talked extensively about the league's COVID policies and some of the efforts that they're trying to make to get players vaccinated. I know that you're partnering with a local company in AditxtScore and talking about COVID-19 testing. I know you've been vaccinated. Talk to me about that partnership that you've developed.
Yeah, I'm representing AditxtScore, and they're really about immune health. And, the NFL right now, its players and staff, just like the rest of the U.S. population, they're faced with these binary choices of deciding between vaccination or non-vaccination. And knowing your immunity score, I think it helps to provide a third option to provide protection against COVID-19. And I'll tell you my quick story. Back in March, I received the J&J vaccination, and for nearly 2 months, I was walking around. I thought I was protected from the COVID-19 virus. And then the people at AditxtScore, they asked me to submit a small blood sample, just a prick of my finger, all right, to get the test. I sent it back in, and they helped me to understand that I had not developed enough neutralizing antibodies to protect me from COVID-19. The results showed a very low score, revealed that I wasn't protected. So then in July, I went and received the second vaccination. This time it was the first dosage of the Pfizer vaccine. 10 days later, I submitted another blood sample to AditxtScore, and the production of neutralizing antibodies had increased drastically. It revealed that I was protected, so now I was able to be confident that I was protected. That's why we're seeing now, even in the NFL, players who have been vaccinated still testing positive for COVID-19. Now, the symptoms aren't nearly as severe, but we believe that through AditxtScore, knowing your immunity score, in other words, knowing if you have neutralizing antibodies to protect you from the virus, that's where the true comfort level and true security comes from. And so all you have to do is go to the website, www.AditxScore.com. That's AditxScore, SCORE.com. If you want to learn more. The people in the great state of Michigan, you got to know about the Great Lakes Medical Laboratory there in Detroit. You can go ahead and get your immunity score and know if you are protected against COVID-19 and the Delta variant.
It's really, like you said, it's the reassurance that I think a lot of people are looking for. And heck, I got to imagine even some of these guys in the NFL would find some solace in that number. Solomon, I've enjoyed talking to you immensely. I hope that you'll come back and break some of these storylines down as we continue on into this NFL season. Thanks so much for your time.
You know I will. Thanks for having me. Keep up the great work.